Welcome everyone to the Call Sheets and Coffee webinar. This is the very first time that I've done this, so it's going to be interesting for me also. What we're going to do is we're going to go how to create a call sheet using Gorilla Scheduling, the call sheet add-on in Gorilla Scheduling, which is brand new. And we're going to go through those steps. Now, the first thing that you need to know is that, of course, the call sheet is the very last thing that you do in a production. So before you create the call sheet, you have to make sure that your schedule is completed. So you got to make sure that your screenplay is already imported, that you've broken down your script, that you've added elements, cast members, crew, that kind of thing, created your shoot days and created your strip board, because that's basically what the call sheet is based on. So I'm not going to go through all of those things today because we have lots of videos on that. I'm going to go through just basically starting the call sheet when all this stuff is completed. So you've already created your crew, you've already created your shoot days, you've already done your strip board. Now I'll touch upon these things a little bit in the webinar, but for the most part, these things have to be done before you create your call sheet. Okay. No. Oh, and I mentioned this when there was no audio, so I'll mention it again. If you guys have a question, please chat it in. I'm obviously looking at the chat every minute or two. And if it's a question that's not necessarily related to what it is that I'm talking about, you're welcome to save that to the end, because we will have a Q&A and I'll answer all questions about anything that you want to ask me. Okay, so now that we got that understood, we have to pretty much finish our schedule before we do the call sheet. Let's just get started in Koala call sheet. So I'm going to hide that a bit, and I'm going to go into Gorilla. So I have a sample here that we're going to use. It's a schedule that I've completed. Like I said, it was the screenplay was imported, and we have breakdown sheets, and we have all this wonderful stuff and ready to go. We just want to create call sheets. So there's a few ways to activate call sheets to make sure that it's working. One way is just to go to shoot days. And of course, here I have my shoot days. You go into the very first shoot day, or any shoot day. It doesn't have to be the very first shoot day. And now I've already have my call sheets activated. But if you select the print button here, and then select the call sheet button, it'll come up with a dialog that says, "Do you want to activate it?" Okay. So once it's activated, you're going to see all these tabs kind of become active. All right. So let's just move on to the next one. That's crew. All right. So I'm going to go through all these little tabs here. And you can see here that I have all these crew members attached to this day. Now, here's the thing about crew. As opposed to cast, crew needs to be scheduled for each particular day. So you need to basically go to each shoot day that you have and attach the crew that you want for that day. Now, sometimes you want all the crew that you have. Sometimes you want a skeletal crew. Sometimes you just want maybe the art department makeup crew for a certain phase of the production for a first certain day. So you can specify which crew members you want for which day. So in this particular instance, I've got all my crew for this particular day. Now, let me go to another day to show you how to do that. And I'm going to go to a day that doesn't have any crew. I imagine this one here, this day probably doesn't. So as you can see, I'm going to a different day. And this is how you navigate, by the way, to a different shoot day. I mean, this is one of the ways. You can go to the calendar and do that also. But if you select this button here, you can see all your shoot days, and then select a day, and you will go to that day. And everything that you're looking at on this screen right now, this shoot day detail screen, is basically for that shoot day, for, in this instance, December 12th. So, and then of course you can select the tabs that you want to work on. And most of these tabs are call sheet tabs, okay? So if you go to the crew call times tab, which is the very first tab, you'll notice that there are no crew here. Now, I've already created crew. Now, if you are familiar with Gorilla Scheduling, you create crew somewhere else. You create crew in the crew module because you use crew in lots and lots of different areas. So once the crew's created, so we have a database of our crew, our DP, our assistant director, and all that kind of stuff, we can then pull from that database onto the shoot day. Now, there's a few ways to do this. One way is you can simply just click the plus sign down here and say, okay, notice that there are X's all down the list here because none of these crew members are attached to the day. And let's say you want the DP for that day. Notice that there's a green check mark now for the DP, and you can see that he or she, in this instance, he popped into the list here on the left. And let's say you want the producer to be here for that day. Now you can do this for all the crew members one at a time. And if you want to be very meticulous about it, you could certainly do that. So that's one way to do it. But of course, if you've got, 20 days or 30 days or 40 days and, so many crew members, it's very, very tedious and time consuming to do it this way. Another way to do it is, now I'm going to delete them right here. Now, remember, when I click this delete button here, it's not really a delete button. In fact, it says, if you look at the tooltip, it says remove all crew. We're not deleting crew from the database. So what I just did, I did not delete the DP and I did not delete the producer. I just removed them from the shoot day. They still exist in my crew database. So, for example, here on the crew tab, I just removed the crew from the shoot day, right? So let's do another way to add crew. Another way is if you click this button down here, it says add all crew. Now, if you click on it, you're going to get a pop-up that gives you some examples. You can do add all crew to this day. So all that list of all that crew, if I click this button, boom, will pop in for the shoot day. It's a very quick and easy way to add everybody. And then you can go through if you wanted to and say, well, look, the chef is here and the assistant chef. We don't really need them for the day. So you can delete them or remove them rather, and then go to each day and do it that way. I'm going to delete this again. Another way that you can do this is click this button and says add primary crew. Now, primary crew is a crew that you specify as primary. Now, you can specify any crew that you want for a primary crew. You can basically say it's the DP or the producer or the director, whatever you want. In this instance, I put 4 crew members as primary. And then you can go and say, okay, but you know what? I want a few more. I really need the script supervisor and the property master. And, you could say, okay, I'll be done with that day, right? And then, of course, you can go through and say add crew to all days. And this is one of the newer features that we added that will literally go through all your days and literally add everybody. So that's another thing that you can do. So let me just do add all crew to this day. I think that's what it was before. Okay. And now let me go through the PowerPoint before I miss. Okay, primary crew, header placement, crew call time, on call. Okay, perfect. So when the crew comes in, it comes in with a department, and every crew title has a department attached to it. So if you wanted to sort the crew list here, you can go to this AAZ button here and say, okay, let me crew, you can see it's by crew department. Let's say I want to do by crew title, or you could do it by primary crew first if you wanted to do that, and all the primary crew will appear there. And if you print your call sheet with crew in one column, in one row or one column, yeah, then you'll be able to see it in this alphabetical or in this sorted list. Okay. So another thing that you can do is on the right, you could see call time. Now up here on the left, you see that there's a call time also. This is what we call the main call time. Okay. The main call time for the day. So this will appear on the top of the call sheet. But every single crew member can be assigned a unique call time. So if, for example, you wanted the director to be there at 7 as opposed to 6, you can do that. There's a button here that says OC, which means on call. So let's say, for example, that the editor we certainly probably don't need. We'll just say on call, but you could probably just remove the editor. They probably don't need to be there on the day. And then construction coordinator, let's say, is maybe on call, so OC. Okay, so those are a couple little minor things that you can do. And notice that there is a header, a column. And what you can do is, let's say you want the director to be in the header. Now you can say header only, which is fine. And I'm sorry, director, and let's say the DP. and let's say the producer. I mean, basically it's primary crew. You could do that, which basically means that these are the crew members. And I think there's a limit to 6, maybe. Oh, maybe not. I don't think there's. Yeah, there's a limit because it's in the header. I think there's 4 or 6. I don't remember exactly on how many crew members you can put in the header. Okay, so that's basically how you kind of bring your crew in to the call sheet. So let me see if I missed anything here. On call, crew call time, header placement. Let's see the next one. Main call time. Okay. So remember I mentioned that, I don't need that, that there's a main call time for the call sheet. And that's what this is right here. So if I select that, you can see that the main call time is 6 a.m. So now if I change that, I can certainly do that here. I can certainly say change it to 6:30 or what have you. There's a couple things to note when you change a call time, and this happens a lot. You change it from 6 or to 7 or whatever. Sometimes it's even in the afternoon. A couple things to note. One, I already modified the call time here for for someone to 7, right? So if you do not select do not change crew call times, this will be updated to the new call time. So if I say, for example, let's do it at 7. Oops, sorry, I didn't do that. 7, there we go. Notice that all the crew members now have changed to 7 o'clock. But if I wanted to keep certain crew members at their call time and change the main call time, you would want to select this button here and then change the call time, because then those crew call times will not be changed. Okay. There is also some other options here like first shot, last shot, camera wrap, and crew wrap, which you can put in. Now, these were notice that they were populated automatically. We have what's called smart call times. So let me see, I think I'm jumping forward, but let me see if that is here. Oh, no, it's here. Perfect. Okay, so these times are automatically populated when you pop in the call time. Now, you can obviously change these individually. So if you want the first shot not to be at 8 o'clock, you want it to be at 9 o'clock, you could certainly change that. And you can even say NA for not available. But what smart call times allows you to do, and if you see there's a button right here and it's checked, if you click it, what it allows you to do, it's really an advanced feature. What it allows you to do is, it looks a little complicated, but I'll explain it real quick and we'll move on. It allows you to put in a variation on different call times based on the main call time. And there's an explanation here that it tells you what it does. So basically, if call time is 6 a.m., then breakfast will be at 5:30, half an hour before. If call time is 6 a.m., then first shot will be at 7 a.m., 1 hour later. Now you could change that. You could say, no, we really need it to be 2 hours, or no, we really need to get started and be 30 minutes. So these are the examples. So if smart call times is on, if you change the main call time, everything will filter through and change based on these minute differences. So it's a little, you'll have to use a little bit of math here, but it's a pretty cool feature. And this is automatically set for you. So if this is checked, this will automatically populate. Okay. So that's basically how to manipulate call times. And there's a lot of things you can do, obviously. Main call time, crew call time, OC, right? Okay, so let me now go to the cast. Okay, so that was the crew cast, okay? The crew tab. Now, the next tab down here is the cast call times. Now, notice that we get this question a lot, actually. When you go to crew call times tab, notice down here on the bottom left, you have the plus sign and you've got to add all crew. You can literally manipulate what crew or which crew you want for that particular day. Now, if you go to cast call times and you're like, okay, I'm going to add my cast to this day. Notice down here, there is no plus sign, okay? There's no plus sign. You can't add all crew. You can't delete crew. Look at that. There's not even delete here, right? So if you go to crew call times, notice that there is a delete button here, or remove crew, right? We've done that. But in the cast call times, notice that there's no delete. So you can't add and you can't delete. And there's a reason for that, because you do not add cast to a shoot day, okay? Let me mention that one more time because it's really important. You do not add cast to a shoot day. You do add crew to a shoot day. What do you do with cast? If you know anything about scheduling, you add cast to the scene or to the breakdown sheet, right? So that's why it's so important, as I mentioned in the beginning, to finish your script board and to finish your schedule before you do your call sheet. These characters, or actors, characters, whatever you want to call them, right? Cast members, they're many by different names, are here because they are scheduled to be shoot. They have scenes, right, for the day, for December 12th. Now, how do we know that? Okay, I'm going to close this up. Going to get out of here, going to get out of the day, and I'm going to go to, this is the first day, right? So let's see, was it the first day that I did 12/12? I'm sorry, I was on a different day, I think. That wasn't okay, let me go back. I think I was on 12/12, which kind of messes me up a little bit. So let me go back to the first day, because I was messing around with those days. Okay, let me go back to the first day. Okay, notice, there we go. Notice the cast call times here is only one actor, or one character, right? So what the other day on 12/12, I had 3. Okay, so I'll explain why. So John Doe, Man on Sidewalk. So on 12/8, right, which is December 8th. So we're going to close that up, and we're going to close this up. And because I know this, right? So I'm going to go to scene 1, which is scheduled up here. You can see for 12/8. So notice that Man on Sidewalk right here is scheduled for this particular scene. And this particular scene, scene 1, is scheduled for the first shoot day. And if I go to scene 2, which is also on 12/8, there's no cast members. Okay, so that's why we only saw, these are the only 2 scenes that are scheduled for 12/8. So that's why we only saw 1 actor there. Now, if I were to go here to cast members and say, well, let me add Amanda, and let me add Luigi. Okay, so now I've got 2 more actors added to this day, which is 12/8. So if I go back to the call time for 12/8, and notice that it's updating call times there. Now I don't have an actor for Luigi, but notice that the characters have been updated to reflect who needs to be there for that day. Okay, so that is why, because I literally get this all the time. We get this all the time. How do I add or remove actors from a day? Well, you don't. You add or remove actors from a scene, which then removes them from the day. Okay. All right, let's see. So that's how to add cast or shoot day. Makeup and call time. So similar, though, to the crew, we do have makeup and call time options here. So if you wanted makeup to be 6 and call time to be 7, you could do that here and do that for each and every person. So you have a makeup and call time. Now, obviously, crew doesn't have makeup, right? Hopefully, they'll come all nice and pretty to the set. And then we do have a SAG Exhibit G button. Now, if you are doing a SAG film or a SAG project, SAG does require you to file what's called an Exhibit G for each and every actor. And that is basically a timesheet for the most part. So if you wanted to, you can literally go in and say, when, because they basically want when they ate breakfast, when they had their time off, travel time. This is all for SAG. Okay, it not necessarily needed for your production, but needed for SAG. So you could certainly do that if you wanted to. Okay, that doesn't appear on the call sheet, but it is here because it's the perfect place to put that. Okay, okay, let's get into actually showing a call sheet. All right, so but there are lots of other things I'm going to talk about, but let's actually just see what it looks like. All right, so if you're ready, for the most part, I've got my cast, I've got my crew. I can print a very basic call sheet right now, so let's do that. So before I do, I wanted to show you this little gear button here. This is really important. This is call sheet preferences. So if you click this button here, you can see all this information. It's a little overwhelming, but basically on the left, we call it order of the blocks, which is the order of the sections of the call sheet. So in this instance, and you can change them, right? So if I wanted to click here and say, skip the quote of the day, and put cast up front or put scenes number 1, you could do that. But according to this layout right now, quote of the day is going to be number 1, scenes is going to be number 2, then cast and crew, then elements. Now, sometimes you don't need elements. Some elements, of course, are the props, the set dressing, costumes. You don't necessarily need that on a call sheet. Sometimes you want to, some UPMs or directors want to put that on the call sheet. If you don't want to, you could just click on skip right there, and it'll just skip elements, which is props, set dressing, because there are other reports that can do that. But on a call sheet, that's not necessary, okay? But it's available to you if you want to do that. Shot information, locations, atmosphere, parking, da-da-da-da, all the way down here. And you can skip a lot of these, or you can move them around, okay? Now, another thing that you can do is notice that, and it says here, select arrow for block settings. So if I go into scenes right here, click that little down arrow, you can see other options that pertain just to the scene. So right now I just have print board ID specified in cast, which is fine. Board ID is the ID for the cast member. You can select print board ID on a separate line if you wanted to do that. And then if you wanted to print locations, and there's all these different things that you can do here, right? So, but let's just actually, let me see on my PowerPoint if I cast preferences. Okay, we have preferences. So I just go over the preferences. Same thing with cast here. So if you wanted to not print the actor contact info, like you don't want their phone numbers in there, you would put that here. If you wanted to put the data days for each cast member on the sheet, like SW, da-da-da-da, you can do that. For crew, how you want to print the crew, 1 column, 2 columns, you could do up to 4. Oh no, 2 columns, right, 2 columns. And do you want to print the phone and the email in the header? You could do that. So each one of these usually has a setting that you can go through and fine tune your call sheet. So it's very important to be able to look at that and to be able to do that, okay? So let's go ahead and actually, before we go on, let's print one and see what it looks like. So if you click the print button here, and then click the call sheet button here, you're going to come up with with basically some templates. Now, we've got 8 templates. The only difference, if you click the next button down here, these 8, I think these are the same. Yeah, these are exactly the same as the first 8, but they have a logo. So if you want your logo, you know, on the top left, and I'm not sure if I have a logo on this project, but we'll find out in a minute. So anyway, up over here, you could say a default. If you wanted a certain one to be default, so it always go to number 1, always go to number 2, you could do that. I'm going to select none because then I can choose one. You could do page setup, US letter, US legal, or A4. Usually US legal is what a lot of call sheets are done. And then the size. Usually call sheets are printed very small. I'm going to select, leave it at 9 so that we can see it better. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and just click on the call sheet button. So now I'm going to go over that in a minute, the forecast. But anyway, so it's building the call sheet, it's grabbing all the scenes, it's grabbing all the information, and this is what it looks like. So let's just look at it very quickly here. We've got our header. Remember, we specified some header information there. Location, I didn't go over that, but I'm going to go over that. Our weather, I'm going to go over that. And then down over here, remember the blocks. So quote of the day, which is right over here, and you could change the quote. I'll show you how to change the quote if you want a quote. If you don't want to, you don't have to. The set or the scenes are right here. We're shooting 2 scenes, scenes 1 and 2, right? The board IDs 2 and 5 are there. The role played and the cast. Remember, there were 3 cast members. And then the crew. Now, I put them in 2 columns, but you could do 1 column if you want. And if you go down, you've got shot information, location information. And if you want to go to the next page, you can go up to, let's see, records, go to record next. This is just a preview. And here's the next page. This is why sometimes it's done on US legal, so that maybe you could, a lot of people want it on 1 page, or maybe you print it double, both double-sided, whatever. Advanced schedule. So this will tell you on the next day, we need these scenes, and the day after that, we need these scenes, okay? And then you could click on Save to PDF. You can click on print over here. And so that's basically how you just print a simple call sheet. And you've got all those different templates that you can choose from. And each one is slightly different. Mostly, like I said, the header is what's different. So if you go through here, and I'm going to go through printing in a bit in the end, but notice that this header is a little bit different. Notice that there's, the weather is here for number 2, the weather is there. This one has them in more of a block situation. This one doesn't have any, doesn't look like it has any lines in it at all, but you could play with those and see which one you like to use. Okay, let me go to crew preference. I did that. Okay, the location for the shoot date. So this is actually a fairly new added feature that we added. So when you go to a call sheet, and let's go to the this tab here, the weather tab, you can have, and I think I wrote this down here in the PowerPoint, the call sheet can have one main location for the shoot day, but it can have other locations for also, because if you go to the scene, and let's see, there were scenes 1 and 2. Scene 1 location here is Beverly Hills set, and scene 2, if I go to scene 2, is Sam's Diner. So each scene is a different location in this particular for this day, right, for 12/8. So you've got 2 locations, but you can specify one as the main. Main could be the very first location, or it could be the location that you're going to spend most of your day on. But I mean, imagine it should be your first location, right? Because that's where the people look at the call sheet, they look at the main location on the header, and they want to go to that location. So in this instance, if I click on scene 1, notice there's a little checkbox here. It's easy to miss, that says main location. So this is checked for Beverly Hills set. So that means that for 12/8, this will be the main location. So let's check that out. So we go back to shoot days, go back to the 8th, and go to weather, because this is where the location is. And notice that it says main location. There it is right there. Okay. If I were to go back to the breakdown sheets and change main location to the Sam's Diner, which is scene 2, and come back here, this would show Sam's Diner as the main location. All right. So why is that important? Well, a couple things. One, let me go to we'll go to preferences, and I'll show you this. There is a location tab here, a block, right? It's block number 7, and print location information, print main location and call sheet header. Okay, so, and that's automatically checked by default. So if I go through here, and let's say I want to go back to the same call sheet and print out the same call sheet, I really haven't done anything. I just want to show you what it is that it looks like. Is if you go here, you will see that the main location right here is that main location that we specified. Okay. And down over here, which is block 7, okay, because that's why it's down here. If you could see that, we've got more information. Well, first of all, we have both locations, and we have the address to both locations. Okay, so it is here in the call sheet. All right, so that's why that is important to do the location. So since we're on this tab, I think the next thing is, so go back to the right view here, is the weather, hospital, and parking information. So this is also very new in Gorilla 8 and Koala call sheets, which allows you to get the weather. Okay, so and I had to do location first because you can't get the weather through an API. We use a weather API without location, right? Obviously, if you got to get the location. So based on the postal code or the zip code, you can ask to get the location. Now, being that we live in a world where you can only get the weather 4 or 5 days in advance, it says here weather info can only be retrieved up to 5 days from today. Now, I'm doing a call sheet here for the 8th, which is tomorrow, so it will be able to get the weather. If you're doing a call sheet for 6-7 weeks out, you can't do the weather. So if I click on I already have stuff in it filled out, so it's probably I probably already did it. But if I click on Get Weather Forecast, and you're going to see that, and again, it's powered by a Weather API service, right? And you can see that it's forecasting 5 days based on the postal code or the zip code, right? Here in the States, it's called zip code. And if you look at the 5 days, we're looking at, we don't need today, but we do need tomorrow because the date here is the 8th. So on the 8th, and again, I already popped it in, but you could see that the minimum temperature, the max, the sun, I'm sorry, is this sunrise, sunset? I think it's sunrise, sunset, yeah. Sunrise and sunset information, and you got a little icon there. So if I click the select to populate shoot day right here, right? And it was already in there before, but notice that the weather information will come in. Okay, so this is pretty darn cool. But again, you can only do, this is why you do a call sheet a night before or 2 nights before. You could probably just do a couple call sheets, before the shoot, right? So you could actually specify the call sheet weather before the actual shoot. So that's pretty darn cool. I think that's cool. I like it. Okay, let's see. What else do I got here? Can we use a different weather service? That's what we subscribe to. So we actually pay for that on a subscription basis. That's no, sorry, no, not to do automatic. I mean, you could certainly, you can use your own service if you want to get the weather. You could certainly do that and then pop it in. You don't have to use the our weather API. You can literally click in here and type in the weather that you want. Okay, but that's the weather service that we subscribe to. So, okay, I mean, it works pretty well, Okay, so what was I going to do now? Parking in hospital, fairly straightforward, not much to say here, but you can literally type in parking in hospital information here, which is usually very important for a call sheet. Where do you park? Where does the crew park? Map, notes, directions, crew park in lot A, cast will be, ridden in, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, right? Right? Okay. All right. Let's see. Hospital parking. Map. Okay, so I put map here. We do have a map feature. This was almost like one of those, features that we had early on in Gorilla. And now people just use Google Maps, but you can literally go to Google Maps, take a screenshot of the map and pop it in here if you want. And then you can specify to print the map at the end of the call sheet. So that's something that we didn't get rid of it. It's still a possibility. Okay, I'm going to keep on going back to this mode here. Let's go back. There we go. Atmosphere and stand-ins. Fairly straightforward here when it comes to this tab right here. And again, if you go to the gear button and go to the blocks, you could see right here, it's in block 8. Okay. If you don't want atmosphere and stand-ins to print, you don't need them because otherwise it'll just be a label with a blank, with nothing underneath. So if you're not using anything, like, I turned off elements, then skip it. Go here and skip it. Otherwise it'll take up room on the call sheet. So if you don't use atmosphere and stand-ins for this particular day, don't use it. Go and skip it. Okay, that's how you can customize it. So atmosphere and stand-ins, pretty standard here. I don't have any atmosphere samples, but let's go ahead and create one. So if I click on the plus sign and let's say group of people, okay. If you want to put a note, you certainly can. You could put a call time if you want for that note. I think you kind of do it this way, right? There we go, right? And you want to put a note in there, you can. This will now appear on the call sheet, okay? Atmosphere is just basically, background characters, atmosphere, crowd control, that kind of thing. Stand-ins, of course, are stand-ins for actors. So these are actual people that are standing in for an actor or an actress. So if you do have stand-ins, you could certainly put their names here. Who are they standing in for? And what time do they need to be there? Now, this is a really cool feature here. We have this copy feature. So let's say we need the group of people to be not just on 12.8, we need them on 12.8, 12.9, 12.10, da, da, da. You can click this button here and say copy to 12.9, copy to 12.10. Same thing with the stand-ins. A lot of times you're going to need the same stand-ins for different days. Same thing, copy to da, 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 da. So you can, it saves you a lot of time, okay, using that copy feature. So that is atmosphere and stand-ins. Customize. Okay, this is actually very nice. This, I keep on doing that. I'm not used to this computer. I usually use another computer. Okay, customize call sheet. So this tab, this really basically allows you to do whatever you want on your call sheet. Okay, a lot of people would not complain, but there's, okay, I want to put this line, or I want to write this line, or I want to hold a whole, and we couldn't do that. This basically gives you the power of creating your own lines of whatever information that you want in a call sheet, similar to Excel. How do I mean? I've got 2 custom entries here, and I'm going to show you how they work. So let's select transportation. I literally created this line. I literally select, and I'm going to do one for you, so you'll see how I do it. But transportation, and down here, van forecast, pickup. And this is, I specified 3 columns. You can specify up to 6 columns for each custom line. Custom line. So I specified here 3 columns. One is just the description of what that transportation is, some detail about it, and some more detail. Okay, so pick up hotel at 5:45, return to hotel at 7. Again, if you want a 4th column, driver name is Stan, you could do that. Okay, so I've got transportation custom line, and I've got another one here that I started called radio channels, and this one I haven't even done yet. So what you could do once I create that, and I could create by clicking this button here, create a title for whatever it is that header is. I can then say, okay, so let's see, I've got 4 columns. I click the plus sign, I got 4 columns. So let's say you want channel radio 1, to be the assistant director. Okay, and you want radio channel number 2 to be the nurse, because let's say you have a nurse or medic. Okay, radio channel 3 to be the art department, and radio channel 4 to be crowd control. Okay, I mean, you can do whatever you want, and you could do many lines. If you wanted this then to be 5 columns, you could add another column, so up to 6 columns, and then you could sort them any way you want. So for example, this is transportation is going to be 1, radio channels is going to be 2. So what does that look like? So let's go ahead now and again print the call sheet, and I'll go to the custom entry area, and you'll see what that looks like on the call sheet, because this is incredibly customized. Let's see, let's go down here to the custom file, see records, I think it's probably the next one, right? Here we go. So transportation, radio channels. Okay, let's see now. Oh, catering and meals. Okay, this is a very nice feature too. Basically, you can specify, we've added a whole catering module to Gorilla, right? It's really to Gorilla, but it's to call sheets. So catering and meals, you literally can do all the meals. So let's say you added a couple of meals here. I've got my breakfast meal, my lunch meal. Start is 6:30, end is 7:30. You can literally put a budget for the meal. Now, if I click budget, you can put in $8 per meal. Scheduled crews 20. It knows how many crews scheduled, okay? Because we put that in under the crew tab. We know how many cast is scheduled because that's automatically done by the strip board. So we've got 23 people that we need to feed, but we also have prep for additional people. Let's say a few guests are coming, or what have you, you could add 4, 5, 6, 10, whatever you want, and then you get a budget for the day, which is kind of cool. All right, now this has nothing to do with the budgeting module of Gorilla. This is literally just for call sheets. Okay, but you can certainly budget for your meal, And then if you click on menu, you can add as many items as you want to this particular meal. Breakfast items, lunch items, dinner items, what have you. If you click the plus sign, we have a database of lots and lots of different meals. You can add your own, you can delete them, what have you, okay? So once you do that, you can specify whether or not it's a primary meal. You could specify whether or not you want it to print on the call sheet. And even further, you can click on the little chef button here and add the name of the chef to, or whoever is the catering people, right? And say you want to print their names and print the menu. And when you do that, this is just very simple. I didn't do anything but breakfast, but notice that you've got a list here of all your meal for the day, okay? And what time it's going to be done and how many people it's going to be prepped for. So this is kind of cool. So that's catering and meals. You could certainly do that. And budget, printing and exporting. Okay, I think we're almost, yeah, and then we got a Q&A. So we're going to do printing and exporting, and then I'm going to open it up to a Q&A session. Okay. So I went through most of what you see here. Remember the call sheet, the page setup here, you can do the production company and logo, and all that information is incredibly important. This is very powerful, this preferences. I specify this again because when people ask, how do you do this? Or how do I move that? Or I really don't want parking, or I really don't want hospital there. This is where you do that. Okay, so this is very powerful. So again, I already went through printing. You just select the print button and call sheet, and then select a template and the font size, and you could print it. But let me show you something else, and that is how to export your call sheet to Excel. So if you wanted to do that, now I didn't write this down on my thing, but print blank template. This is kind of cool too. You could actually print a blank template, which basically allows you to fill it in on your own. Okay, so that's kind of cool also. So if you wanted to print, if you wanted to export your call sheet to Excel, I think you have to go out and go to here. This one I did not look up before my thing, so I do apologize. I think you have to go here. There we go. So this call sheet here, if you go to print reports and then call sheet, you can export. What that allows you to do is to export the data to Excel or a tab separated text file. Then you could bring all that data into Excel and really customize it. If you want, no, I really don't like any of those headers. I really don't like how it looks. I want to really squeeze it all. I want this font here and that font there and this color there. We can't specify different fonts for each section. But if you wanted a completely different font for the header and a completely different font for this, whatever, you can do that. I think we have a little bit of that if you go into here. So if I go into fonts, again, if you go here and fonts, again, you could, well, actually, that's not bad, actually. You can do that. You can do a different font, a courier font for the scenes, for the cast, and a different font. So you could do a little bit of that. But if you wanted, blue for the header and green for, you can't do that. But you could do that in Excel if you want. So you can export your data to Excel. Okay. Lastly is emailing a call sheet. Now, the best way to email a call sheet is to print it as a PDF, because that's a nice clean copy. Once you have that PDF on your desktop, you can then use Gorilla's. Now, I'm not going to go over this, but I'm going to show it to you. Gorilla's email feature, which allows you to email to groups. And we have a video on this, so definitely watch the video if you want to look how to do that. But basically, you can create groups of crew or cast or both. And literally, it'll open up your email program on your computer, whether you have Outlook or whether you have on Windows or whether you have Mail, I think, on Mac. I think those are the two defaults, I think. And then you can attach the PDF and then mail it to all those cast and crew. So that's a really nice feature also. Okay. I think I did everything. And I've got my Q&A session. Okay, I got everything done that I wanted to do. And if you guys have any questions about anything, doesn't have to be about call sheets. It could be about scheduling. It could be about budgeting, about Gorilla. Please feel free now to ask me about that.
cast, you don't see it, is it putting it only in numerical order, or can you put it in the order of like number one is usually our number one, number two? I see you have 101 first and then number two and number three. 101 is usually a day player and doesn't usually get first position on a call sheet.
Are you talking about the cast over here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you can, let's see. I think it's sorted first by the board ID. Here it's showing 101 here, but I think on the call sheet, I don't think it'll be a 101 will be first. I think extras will be, because that's an extra. I think it's sorted by the board ID, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see here. I don't know if there's a preference for it or if it's automatic. Let's see here. Cast, no, it doesn't show here. Let me see. Let me see. Yeah, so you could see here, it's sorted by board ID, which is the way it should be sorted. So number two and number five, and then the extras are down here. Was, you know, what I specify the extras on mine starting at 100 or 101. So that's how it would be sorted on the call sheet. But yeah, we should have an option here to be able to do that too. But it's just a visual display here. That's not how it's going to print. That's a good question. Any other questions? Where will this recording be accessible? Yeah, it's going to be on our website. So first of all, I'll probably send out a newsletter next week once I compile it and get it up there. Did you miss the webinar? Here it is. But on our website, if you go to, let's see. Let's see here. Under, where is it now? Learn webinars. There we go. Learn webinars. And see, it even shows the call sheets and coffee webinar right there. So in about a week, it will be here. And of course, we've got other ones here, our intro classes, screenplays and scheduling and such, but it should be right here under Learn webinar. Yeah, well, it'll be there. Okay, great. I want to thank everyone for being here. Hope it was informative. I hope I helped a little bit with how to navigate through call sheets, because it can be complicated. As you can see, there's a lot of stuff and a lot of preferences, and a lot of little ticks and check marks to check and not check, but it's very powerful. And again, the concept of being able to export the call sheet to Excel or all the data, so you don't have to do that and then do it, really customize it, is also very powerful. So again, thanks a lot everyone for coming. And if you do have any questions, please feel free to chat us through online or email us at support@jungosoftware.com. Thanks a lot, everybody.